Testing. All right, thank you, Jordan. We're live. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for April 24th, 2023. I will call a meeting to order, and just for the record, advise that Councilor Bruin is not able to attend this evening's meeting, and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. No public hearings. Item 4, adoption of minutes. Item 4.1, minutes, regular meeting of council, April 11th, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Just the regular minutes in front of council for your consideration and approval.
Thank you. Councilor Rudd.
I'll make a motion the council adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 11th, 2023 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4.2, minutes of special meeting of council, April 3rd, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Again, meeting minutes in front of you for council's approval.
All right. Thank you. Councilor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council adopts the minutes of the special meeting of council held on April the 3rd, 2023 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. No business arising. Item 5.1, standard item 105, 2023 floating dock. Mr. Tebow.
We've got Mr. Shear here to go through the explanation of the floating dock.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Sure.
So we were asked to look at floating dock, boat launch, things like that. So we got some pricing. You can see the pricing. It's going to be, close to $25,000 worth of operation maintenance. The main concern here is St. Mary's Irrigation District. They want the town to assume all the liabilities because it's their lake. They don't really go after recreation facilities, things like that. So if the town is wanting to put in something like this, they're saying the liability is going to have to be yours, and you're going to have to come up with an operations plan for maintenance, for safety, and also for invasive species. So I don't know if we're headed down the right path, so I'm just kind of looking for council's direction here.
All right. Thank you. So they're not in favor of this, but they're not helping us out as much as they maybe
They
could.
didn't see either way.
Right. Yeah.
Are you willing to accept, I guess, because is council willing to accept some liability?
Okay. So I'm just not understanding. Maybe recreation can help us out with that also, as far as how this might differ from the trout pond, for example, for any liability.
Well, the trout
issue.
pond is your land, so it's covered
Yes,
under your
okay, I
insurance.
see what
So
you mean, yeah.
we would have to get a different insurance policy, things like that. And Mr. Orwell I don't know if you have comments on that because you're just here, you're new to that. But
Okay. So only related to the insurance policy.
well, yes, it's not your land to build anything on, right?
I see. All right. Thank you. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the work that you that was undertaken to investigate this. It's not exactly what I envisioned. It was a coffee with council request that was brought up that I was bringing forward. And the request and what I was kind of envisioning was more of just like a ramp that people could load their boats, their non-powered boats in and out. And I wasn't anticipating an ongoing maintenance cost, which I am not really in favor of. And also like the liability is not something that I had considered either. I think there is voting happening on it now, but as soon as the town of Taber makes any improvements, then the liability becomes ours. Is that correct?
That is the way I understand it. There is a small boat launch just right next to Atlantic's pump station that's existing. It's quite ancient, but people have used it. And there's a private dock farther to the east. There again, whether you have access or not, it depends on whether you talk to the owner.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Rudd.
Just curious what the scale or scope of the recreational value is over there. I mean, is that a hot spot or?
I couldn't tell you that.
I don't know. Is there any
currently,
information on that?
Councilor Rudd, it's not, I guess, but being the boardwalk through the marshland that's going to happen near the end of the project
Right.
will enhance the area. So that's where this gentleman came up with the idea. As far as he's a fairly elderly gentleman, but he has done his share of kayaking and canoeing in the past, and and wasn't looking for it for himself so much, but just thought that that was something that was necessary due to what we've got going on out there for future reference and possibilities recreationally speaking.
Okay, so it may become popular.
Right, right. Definitely more activity out there for sure. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems to me this could be quite a complex project. Having been on the board of SMRD many years ago, the SMRD, by its very nature, has always been not in favor of those type of structures, you know. They very much look upon their works as a irrigation works first and foremost. And regarding the invasive species, which I had not thought about, that could become rather expensive. We might have to station someone there or have a place where they can clean their boats off when they leave the lake. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I'm not in favor of this project whatsoever. However, I think we could have a relook at it once the wetlands are fully completed, fully open. We dig a tour there and have a good look at it and go from there. But at this time, Mr. Mayor, I'm not in favor of doing anything.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my comments were similar to Mr. Beckering, just in regards to waiting for the actual plan for that area for the wetlands and for parking. Like, I can just see it kind of developing into a situation where we need to be, the plan needs to be fully thought out before we kind of throw something in there.
Yeah, fair enough. I think all things considered, it may be something to look into further, as Councillor Beckering indicated initially. But, there's lakes all over the province, across the country for that matter, that have boat launches, and all I can remember seeing is basically use at own risk, So I don't know that it's such a big to-do that we've been led down that path so far to suggest that possibility. But I guess warrants some further investigative portion to deal with that properly. Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say I'm in favor of this project, but not at this time. I just think it needs to be reevaluated.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that council accepts this particular item for information and to be looked at when the wetlands are completely finished.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, no bylaws to deal with. Item 7, action items, item 7.1, 2022 audited financial statements. Mr. Thibault.
Mr. Orwa is back and will come front and center and address council.
All right, thank you. Mr. Orwa, welcome back.
Thank you very much, His Worship and members of council. Good afternoon. The year is over. The audited financial statements is before you. And the only exciting piece that I normally talk about, that I look very closely, is on your balance sheet. And that is the net financial assets. That is the key that I look at, in the sense that if the town was to wind up at the end of the year, December 31st, 2022, we will be able to pay all the liabilities out of our financial assets, and the answer is yes. And that's why you see it is a net financial asset. Not all municipalities are like that. Some of them are in net debt. Apart from that, these financial statements, of course, has been dissected by the audit committee. And I believe at this time I always give it back to the chair and members of the audit committee to tell us what they had.
All right, thank you, Mr. Orwa. Anybody want to start? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Orwa. Yes, the audit committee met recently, Councilor Sorensen and Mayor Prokop and myself. And the auditor showed up also, and we had a rather lengthy, very fruitful meeting, I thought, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Orwa is correct. We're in pretty good financial shape. As a matter of fact, I think our restricted reserves are going to be triple what they were previous year. Is that correct, Mr. Orwa?
That's correct.
And I think that's very good news, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Orwa and all of the staff and administration that work hard to keep these numbers above the red. And I think we're on a very good path moving forward for our community.
All right, thank you. And I'd also like to reiterate that, Mr. Roy, and thank you to yourself and Donna and your financial team for the due diligence you've taken part in and helped us through this audit time again with the auditors as well. And it was very well received and very well done. So thank you so much. Councilor Rudd?
Well, see, this discussion is dealing with whether or not we'll provide the statements publicly. But when I went through it, I want to be sure what I read was what I read. It shows about 13.5 in tax collected, and then it shows 11.7 in wages and benefits. Is that correct? Am I reading that right, or am I pulling figures from somewhere else? I can find it here if I.
Because that one shows the net tax available, budget of 10.3, collected 10.398, and it compares it to the previous year.
So I'm looking at the consolidated schedule of taxes, and it says in there, I don't know if there's a page number, page 11, I guess, would be, yeah. Just looking at page 11, and I'm looking at that, the totals of the taxation.
This particular schedule only gives you the breakdown, but what you see in the statement of operations is the bottom line, which is 10,335,535, which was the total taxes budgeted. But the collection, the actual in 2022, we collected 10,398 and 0.1. That means we collected more than we budgeted. But in most cases, it's because one, supplementary tax always come through. During the year, there's some improvements that goes through, and as a result, we collect additional taxes from the citizens. And then that compares with the 2021. So where did we get that 10,335? That is the breakdown. And then 10,398 again, that's the breakdown based on property taxes, linear, and of course the requisitions.
Okay, so then what's available, I see it now, I think. What's available for us now is the 10,335 after we pay all the requisitions off of what we've collected. And so that leaves us down to the 10,335, and the wages are still at 11,700 or something like that.
If you go down to the next statement, that one, that is now the consolidated schedule for expenses by object. So this one now breaks things out. Out of our total expenses of 27 million, the salaries, wages, and benefits is 12 million budgeted, but it came to actual is about 11.8. That means we didn't spend everything that was out there budgeted for. And maybe because there were some positions that were not filled.
So it's still greater than what we have available from the taxation that comes in, that budget item, salaries, wages, and benefits.
If you look at the actual numbers, yes, 13.98 was collected from taxes, but the actual for 2022 wages came to 11.8 million.
Yeah. So, okay, because I've had that concern, raised that concern before, and I guess it's still a concern for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orwa. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council advises administration to make available the approved consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022 in booklet format to any ratepayer free of charge.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, moving on to item 7.2, proposed industrial magnetic implement purchase. Mr. Tebow.
I believe Ms. Lena DeBona is going to come up and speak to us on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bona.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So over the last 7 years or so, we've been trying to make many improvements down at the transfer station to improve the services offered to residents and the efficiency of the operations down there. The number one complaint that we have as staff, as the town, flat tire repairs on our fleet. I've put the numbers in the background here of approximately the average that we've spent over the last 3 years just in our public works fleet that actually is down there. That's not all of our fleet, but it's a huge concern, and our contractors and patrons that go down there too, that's been their concern as well. We've had quite a few people complaining about that. We've changed how we do things down there, and so now we have an area that gets a lot more debris on the road. So we were looking at many different types of magnets that we could use that would be efficient in its use, easy to clean off, last a long time. And this is the one that we believe will be the best use. We have a Kubota RTV down there that this would be able to be pulled behind by our summer students, our loader operator, whoever's down there, and it's a really easy to back into the building, drop the lever, drop all the nails, sweep it into the garbage pile, and be done with it. So I think it would be a really value-added addition to our fleet down there. So this is the manufacturer and distributor of the magnet, and the cost is $11,576.66, not including GST.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Lisa. Did I read correctly that the town spent $5,587 last year on flat tires?
That's an average between 3 years, so
Oh,
yes.
That's not between 3 years, so it's $5,500 per year? About?
Sometimes more, sometimes less, yes.
Okay, thank you. It seems to me, Mr. Mayor, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I would
We
say.
think so,
also,
too.
and also, of course, our patrons
Yeah.
and the contractors that use it, you know, I mean, I think
Yes.
this would be a great benefit. Oh, my goodness, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So just to clarify, if a user, resident user had a flat tire down there, it was caused by something down there, we would cover that also? We don't? Okay, that's strictly use at your own risk scenario. Thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
I'd just be prepared to make a motion.
All right, very
Mayor.
well.
I make a motion that council directs administration to purchase an industrial magnet implement at a cost of $11,576.66, exclusive of GST, with funds to come from the capital reserves.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, item 7.3, waste survey, final results and action plan. Mr. Tebow, yes, finally.
So this item is going to be spoken to by Ms. Megan Brennan and perhaps Lisa DeBona, is what I heard. Mr. Shear. And this was on the standing items list, quite a few months old based on when we initially started this, and then got to the end result. And I'll let them carry on.
Right,
Perfect, so
thank
group
you.
projects, so if there's any difficult questions, I'll defer.
All right, thank
But
you.
as you can see in the RFD in front of you, council asked us to do a little bit of public engagement on front curb feasibility pickup. And we decided to go a little bit further. As council's aware, they've seen the survey before it went out. And we are thrilled in administration with the response. We sent out 3,400 surveys just to residential areas because apartment buildings and commercial buildings are on a different waste system. So we wanted to keep it as close to the 3 bins as possible. And we got a 10.5% response rate, which is basically unheard of for all the surveys and public participation that we do in Tabor. So I don't know if we were knocking on doors, beating down the bush, whatever happened. We're thankful to the public for giving us their feedback, which is attached for council's review. And specifically to speaking to the motion, it was question number 8, would you be in favor of moving all residential carts to front curb pickup? The largest majority, 39%, was strongly against. So the rest is available for council's perusal, but we decided that instead of just bringing you the results, we wanted to do the due diligence of showing you how we're going to address what the public said to us. With the service being 7 years old in this May, we figured that a lot of the comments that you found in the survey, they were sort of the finer points of the service. People are used to the service now, but they want to see a little bit more about where the recycling is going. The brown, why are the brown bins so small? Council recently changed tactics on that, so it's given us a little bit more flexibility to give people an additional brown bin if they pay for it. So there's a lot of communication that we can do to help citizens understand the service a little bit more, and some of the issues that came up in the survey can be addressed with communications, and that's what you'll see in the action plan throughout. So if council has any additional questions or comments, the panel is ready for your questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth?
Thank you. It was a very comprehensive survey, and I read all of the comments, and some of them were, I did, all of them, all the pages. Took me a long time. And I really liked the suggestion of adding an app. I know that there are some communities that have it, and it notifies you when your carts are going to be picked up. It can also answer what goes in what bins, and I think that that could be a really valuable asset to residents. I think it would be very helpful, and if that's something that's feasible, but I appreciate all of the work that went into this, and thanks to all the residents of Taber that actually filled it out and gave us that feedback. It's very valuable information, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I also did read almost 90% of it. Last pages I just couldn't do, but I do find it perhaps worthwhile looking into the battery recycling service, and I wasn't aware that we don't recycle glass, because I think I've been putting glass in my recycle bin, so.
That's because of where it's going to. They don't accept glass. So we had to pull it out per se for them, because they do it as a hand sorting, and it's hazardous to their staff that it's doing the sorting and makes a mess. So they don't like it. That's in Lethbridge. We've been looking at different places to maybe take it to, or there's some different type of end user that if they were to come forward and it was feasible to ship it directly to them for use, then that's something we could have a separate bin like we do the styrofoam. So we're looking into that, but so far we haven't been able to find one that's economical to ship it to.
So like the bottle, if I may.
Sure.
So the bottle depot does take glass, or they used to, they don't anymore either?
No, not the one that's not for deposit, like refund.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if we can find somewhere to take it to, then that's something we could do.
But currently, Lisa, you do receive some glass and you're having to sort it.
No, Lethbridge will
Lethbridge
take care of
sorts.
that, but
Oh, I see. Okay.
it does
yeah.
still end up there, but they, as
Okay.
a practice,
I see,
don't
yeah.
want it.
Right, okay. Thank you. Councillor Rudd? Oh, sorry, Mr. Sure, you had a question?
Go ahead, Councilor. So I just want to point out, when it is put in Lethbridge, that it's an automated service with glass. It breaks, gets in the cardboard, and really causes injury. So that's one of the main reasons. The other reason, we have looked at for a few years now, trying to get rid of the glass. We have separate bins. And I know there are some people that grind it up and make it into paving stone blocks, but ours is such a small amount, it hardly pays. We'd be paying them triple what it's worth to take it to the landfill, so that's part of the issue. I did want to point out one other thing. We're having a lot of trouble with recycling. People are throwing garbage into recycling, and our recyclers are now saying, look, we're going to have to charge you more. It's gone so far that they found dead animals. Wow. 1 dog, 2 cats, and a skunk this year. So that's how bad it's getting, especially with garbage. And they're throwing all that in recycling bins now. There's no need for that. But just want to make everybody aware, we're having trouble in the recycling area.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rudd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm sure I can visualize that happening. So glass then would be a brown bucket?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So the one element of the survey was the question that dealt with picking up on one side of the alley only. And I remember that being a cost saving and an efficiency saving for the town. And how did that question fare? It wasn't good, eh?
Well, depends how you look at it. If you look at the undecided, it is on, doesn't matter, I don't care, I'll put it on the other side. But that can go either way, right? So it really is, all of this ends up to be a council decision. There's a lot of 50-50 splits, so if council decides, hey, we're gonna try that for a while, then we'll try that. But you're right, there would be a huge cost saving if we went to one side. Wintertime, I could see that being a hassle, people can't get across, it's ruddy, snow, and people not bringing in their garbage, saying, why don't they take their bin to their lot, right? So there's issues both ways.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor Sorensen.
Sorry, just to carry on. But there was three things that I came out of the survey was the brown bins. Citizens would like larger brown bins, and I imagine maybe they could get 2 brown bins, just like they can get 2 blue bins and 2 green bins. Would that be an option?
Yep, that's already an option. There's a $10 extra a month fee for having an additional one or a larger one, but they can get it, yes.
And then the other comment is the damage to the bins.
They
So-
just have to phone in and let us know that it's damaged, and then we replace that at no cost.
Okay.
Because we have warranty on some of the like for some of the damage, so they just have to let us know that it's, and then we would go out and replace it or repair it.
And the contractor's aware, or you guys, like it seems like people witness them being a bit more rough with the bins, so you guys have addressed that too.
Yes, we continually talk to them.
Okay.
We've actually had some end up at the compost facility, they have green bins there, not from our town, but there are other towns.
And if I may, just one more through the survey was the compost bags. I haven't been aware of or been a part of the conversation, so can we just kind of elaborate on why we've stopped using the compost bags?
It was a litter problem. They didn't biodegrade as they should have. The issue was they go through an 80-day process and they take out there, they're done in 40 days. So the compost bags don't have time to compost. So once they've done that, they're blowing away in the wind. They're blowing out in the field. So what now they suggested, either just dump it in the green bin, or there is wax lined paper bags for compost, use them. Those are that's the alternative.
All right, thank you. Counselor McLean.
My apologies. I've lost my voice. Can the blue bins be picked up weekly?
That's a council decision, that's a budget consideration. You mean for garbage?
No, for
Blue
recycling.
bins for recycle, yeah.
Or is it just easier for people to just bring their recycling to our bigger bins?
We're finding a lot of people don't break down the recycling, so they'll throw the whole box
The
in.
whole box
Rather
in.
than, cutting and folding it up.
Yeah.
Like I put we bought a new table and chairs and all the cardboard came in, I did put that all in one cart.
Right.
You just have to break it down, cut it down, but people don't wanna do that.
But they can get the additional
Yep.
An
recycling
additional
cart.
bin, right.
It would be probably double the cost to go to, well, not double the cost, but it'd be a substantial increase in the,
Right, but if
cost
you
of
got another blue, you can get another blue bin for free though,
Yep.
right?
yeah,
Okay.
if we have it in stock.
Right, right. Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify the results of the main concerns that was brought up at the Coffee with Council here some time back about the carts moved from the alley side to the street side, the vast majority were against that, correct?
I believe majority were against that, yes.
No overwhelming majority, but the largest portions were not in favor.
Right, and I think I saw the same for the moving the carts from one side of the alley to the other as well, the same way.
Correct.
So I guess my question is, there was no action plan on that area per se, right? So I guess the question is, that the concern was a couple alleys in particular, if those blocks were still wanting that to be done, as long as the majority of that particular street, that could be done and has been done in the past, I believe also, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that could still be done if that was the case. As far as doing the whole town in that capacity, it's definitely fairly high percentage to not go that route, correct? Okay, thank you.
You're exactly right, and really, if council wanted to say that this one block we're gonna make front pickup, please make a motion, and that would happen.
Right, okay, I guess so that's what I'm not understanding about the motion side. I think it happened, there was some request, a couple of blocks or so early on in the first year, and I think it was just done. I don't believe that ever came to council.
No, what
But-
it was, we had a letter go out to residents, and if they had the, majority of the blocks, 70% of the blocks say we want front pickup,
Yeah.
we went to front pickup. And
Okay.
that was part of that when we first brought in the program.
Right, yeah, I do remember a couple blocks like that for sure. So I'm just saying now, if that were to happen, we would do something similar, letter format,
Yep.
advising those residents the same way. Get that information back via the letter response.
Yeah,
And,
they would bring in a letter just with their neighbor's signature. And
right,
that's fine with us.
so you would send a letter to every resident on the block of concern.
Yep.
And then wait for
If
that,
they brought
the
that to
responses
our
back.
attention, yes.
Okay, fair enough, thank you. Counselor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Who made the stupid motion anyway? Oh, I did. Mr. Mayor, thank you for all your work regarding this kind of an important issue, actually, I was not aware either I couldn't put glass in my recycling bin either. From now on, I'll put it in the garbage, right? That's what I have to do. So my wine bottles have to go somewhere else. Okay. But anyway, Mr. Mayor, if I may, it seems to me administration is not recommending front pickup. That's what it seems to me, right? Okay. Unintended results, but good results though, is that we're having a discussion about it, and we can make some improvements, I imagine, through the action plan that's been proposed, and I think, Mr. Mayor, it turned out good after all. Thank you.
Yes, it did, thank you. Counselor Rudd?
I agree, it did turn out well, no question. But, what's gonna be our driving rationale behind making any kind of move? And it should be for efficiency, and it should be for cost effectiveness. That's what we should be looking at. And when I hear, okay, well, this block's gonna do that, and that block's gonna do that, and I think, I guess you're probably used to it now, but if it starts to be sporadic around the community, then your pickup costs, and just maneuvering through the new map, would be, I get that there's convenience for the community, but there's nothing more convenient than taking trash out of your house, putting it in the alley, and it disappears. That's pretty convenient, and other than, taking 3 steps or 4 steps, or, coming into your kitchen to sort it for you, it's, where do we stop? And I think beyond the convenience, we need to be more considerate of efficiency and the cost saving. And, this didn't fly. We got a lot of information, and I'd support, status quo. I would support getting the bins over to one side, even if you do it seasonally, because you make a good point with the snow. You can do the garbage pickup half the time in the summertime, and then like everybody else, struggle through the alleys with the snow. So I'd support something like that.
All right, thank you, Counselor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. I was just wondering if administration did need a motion in regards to the app and in regards to maybe investigating battery recycling.
I think we should have a motion for the app, if you would mind, just so we can look into the costs. And then we can come back with those, and then council can decide.
All right, thank you. Do you want to fashion a motion of some type together? Okay. In the meantime, Counselor McLean had a question also.
Thank you. Before you make your motion, what about increasing recycling pickup at Christmas time? Like those bins where everybody has tons of styrofoam and cardboard at Christmas time. So I'm wondering if we can just increase that pickup around Christmas time.
Do you mean at the public drop-off?
Yeah, because usually people have way bigger boxes at Christmas time, and it's way more convenient to drop them off there than it is to break it down.
Yeah. We also
in
have them all
really
at the transfer
compact-
station too.
Yeah,
Like the same thing.
Same
But yes,
kind of
that's
thing.
something that I could schedule around Christmas time for sure.
right. I
to
think that
increase
would
it.
just make a little more sense
Yeah.
because there's tons of styrofoam,
Yeah.
at Christmas and way more recycling at Christmas time.
Yeah, because currently they only get collected twice a
Twice a
week.
week, yeah.
But we can definitely do that Christmas week and maybe the week after
After
Boxing
something,
Day.
yeah. I just think it might be smart to do.
Would you need a motion in that regard also, or are you okay with just that? Kind of a
I think
scheduling.
it might have been part of the action plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, to investigate.
Yes.
It was just the commercial, though, it was Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
would do that. And
Okay.
we've had it, do that a couple times, just
Right.
ask for Nick to pick up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor Firth, you're coming up with a formal motion?
As we speak.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna take a crack at it, and you guys all feel free to friendly amend it if you feel the need. I move that council directs administration to investigate the cost and feasibility of an app to assist residents with waste collection. And possibly other things too. No, I'll scratch that last part. Sorry, that's way too open-ended.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Counselor Sorensen?
Sorry, can I also put a motion in for the recycled batteries, if that's
Absolutely.
okay? I would like to make a motion for administration to investigate research into cost, labor, and available contractors for the ability to recycle batteries.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Counselor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think another motion would be in order.
Absolutely.
I'll move that council, I don't like the word instructs, directs administration to carry out the action items as outlined in the 2023 Waste Collection Survey Results Action Plan.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.4, Seniors Week 2023. Mr. Thibault.
I believe that Mr. Egan is going to come speak to Seniors Week.
Mr. Egan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So Seniors Week this year is June 5th to June 11th, so it's coming upon us. Historically, the town has participated in 3 other Seniors Weeks, 2017, 2020, and in 2022, we were actually Tabor co-hosted the launch of Seniors Week in collaboration with the Alberta Seniors and Housing. And for that, we were able to receive a $5,000 grant, which made last year's Seniors Week substantially more robust than prior versions. This year, we have Seniors Week on our recreation plan of events. And so in line with that, we were going to partner with our friends at the Parkside Manor to put on a breakfast for the seniors. That would include, they're asking for a financial contribution to purchase materials and then for volunteers. And as well, the Recreation Department will be looking to, during Seniors Week itself, the drop-in facilities for the pool, pickleball, badminton, and those types of activities will all be available free of charge to seniors.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Why do seniors get all the breaks?
They earned them.
There you go, good answer.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves to sponsor the 2023 Seniors Pancake Breakfast in the amount of $550 to come from the council discretionary fund.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.5, information for council. Mr. Thibault.
All right, so I'll do most of the speaking for this particular one. So we've put forward for information the capital projects. And so we've had this format in front of you before. I believe there's an addition to this particular graph with the grant funding column. But essentially it is what existed before, and it's just a progress report. So we'll see a lot more activity when, over the next few months and through the next quarter, where a lot of these will have some percentage adjustments. But it's the beginning of the season, and we thought we'd provide an update on current projects. Right now, they're sort of sorted by departments as opposed to years. I believe the oldest one is 2015, which is the East Wetlands, being carried forward year over year because of the size of that project. Most of the other ones are 21, 22, and 23. So they're there, and if council had any questions around any of these capital projects, we've got folks in the room that can potentially answer some of those questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Why are some of the items highlighted in green?
Highlighted in green, I believe, is representing 100% complete, and there's a little note beside it that suggests, or that says how much it actually was finished with
Yes, okay.
from a
that
cost
makes
perspective.
sense. Now I see that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. If it was grant funded and we were under budget, are we able to keep that monies, and where does that money then go to?
Depending on the grant, it's not a simple question, but if it's our MSI grant, and Mr. Orwell can correct me if I'm way out of line, but our grants would just get rolled back into our grant coffers. If it's a grant that comes from like CFAP or something like that, I don't actually know 100% if we have to give back the remaining. We typically try and spend everything because they don't really want money back, so we try and find ways to spend that, but that's my understanding of the grant monies. We do our best to allow it to not slip through our fingers.
All right, thank you. No other questions? All right, no motion required. Mr. Thibault.
So item number 2 in here was a good news story. Mr. MLA Grant Hunter and Mr. Mayor were here. Mr. Mayor accepted the letter, and there was no big fat check in front of us, but we were successful on the wastewater, the clarifier grant that we had applied for. So kudos to the folks that went and looked for that. So we ended up with an amount of, I believe it was $1.233 million thereabouts. So about 37% covered of the costs. So there'll be a further discussion around the borrowing bylaw that Mr. Orwell had created a while ago, and that will come back to council for further discussion on that. That's all I have for information.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 7.6, department reports. So go through those individually. If anybody has any questions, just please advise accordingly. Starting off with Administrative Services Department report. Councillor Rudd.
I just noticed an item in the administration report about ostrich communication and a presentation. So, just curious what that is going to look like. I mean, it was a hilarious episode, to say the least, but are we being asked to present that at some conference or something? That's what it's all about?
We'll get Ms. Brennan to come up and explain, because
Okay,
I don't
okay,
actually know.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
So, my bird brain idea. We have a conference twice a year, the Alberta Municipal Communicators, and we bring topics of varying interest to people and talk about how our communications has changed, or unique ways that we communicate. And this time my idea took flight, and so I get to have a little bit of fun, make some wisecracks at the Rocky Mountain House conference. So that's what that's referring to.
All right, thank you. And in all fairness, thanks to Ms. Brennan for taking care of that in the proper fashion and with the wonderful humor attached to that as well. Yeah. With 20-odd turkeys, we actually ended up donating to the food bank as well. But seeing what the interest in that story was, I think that's probably got the most hits we've ever had on anything. Is that not correct?
For all of, as long as I've been here, It is the number one news story on our channels.
Right, so,
Well, yeah.
Well-
Mr. Mayor,
absolutely.
we've been on the national stage before.
Well, that's right, and for something along these lines, I don't think this is a bad thing at all. It's,
Yeah.
If you can turn this into some good humor and some, putting
Yeah.
Tabor on the map for positive readiness, we're all for it. So.
Yeah.
We prefer the birds.
Yeah, we'll
Absolutely.
keep it light. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to CAO department reports. Engineering and Public Works reports. Public Works Treatment Facilities reports. Recreation Planning and Community Service report. Fire Department report. And Finance Department report. Councillor Sorensen.
Sorry, must have missed one, but there was a request for residents to sign up for water sampling. And you needed some more residents to sign up, and I was just wondering if you had enough.
Yeah, we've had 8 or 9, so we've had some good response. There again, we'd only pick on them once every 6 months, something like that. So it'd be a rotation basis, but, thank the ones for calling in, but we definitely could use some more.
Great, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, seeing none, no motion required for that as well. Moving on to mayor and council reports. Councillor Firth, can you start us off?
Sure. So in the last month, I attended all of the meetings that I was required to, as well as some extra things. I attended the Alberta Community Justice Awards that was hosted by the Tabor Police Service at the Parallel Church. It was a great ceremony, and some really worthy awards were handed out, so that was a good thing. The regular meeting of the Chamber of Commerce, the FCSS All Councils meeting, which in Coaldale, which was very informative. It's always good to hear what FCSS is doing for our community. They're a huge asset to our whole area. I attended a Trout Pond Master Planning meeting, the Tabor District Housing Foundation information session, a regular meeting of the Police Commission, and then on Saturday, the Policeman's Ball that was held by the Tabor Police Association.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all the meetings I'm supposed to attend. Nothing earth-shaking to report. Also attended the all councils meeting held in Coaldale, behalf of FCSS. It was a very informative meeting, of course, again. A little bit too long, I thought, but otherwise good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended most of my meetings. Sorry, I really wish I could speak. And I also, me and my family were able to participate in the Easter egg hunt just held out here, and that was really well done by the town, actually. And so I like to thank all those who organized it and put it on, because it was fun and awesome. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
I'm so happy I sit down here. So I attended most of my meetings. I attended the FCSS joint meeting. I attended the Tabor District Housing meeting also. Learned a lot of very valuable stuff for our community needs. I also attended the Economic Development annual conference in Kananaskis, and I truly would recommend that for all council, that it's very important for us to attend a lot of learning sessions, plus a lot of networking. So more to come. I'll share more to come.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rudd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, in addition to many of these meetings we were at together, I also had the opportunity to attend the Clearview Lodge Volunteer Appreciation Night. And I'd like to just point out, I saw some communication come out earlier today on this very matter, and it'll probably be on our agenda. But anyway, I'm inviting everyone here to come May 18th to the library at 7 p.m. for the victim service presentation. That's all you people are invited to attend. It's going to be a good night, and we've done it in the past, big success and a lot of information. People are astounded at what gets done. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. And for myself, I did attend a variety of required meetings, document signings, media interviews as well. I did attend the Alberta Community Justice Awards event as well, including the FCSS All Council dinner event. That was very well done and very well received. Attended the Town of Tabor Easter egg hunt as well. That was 400 to 500 strong, I believe. So that was very well attended and a lot of fun had by all in attendance. Very well done event as well. I did attend the Grand Hunter RMLA UCP election launch in Coaldale recently, and as well as I attended or toured rather Martin Shields around town in some of our highlighted project areas, the Trout Pond for one, the Meadows and Attainable Housing, and the Tabor Wetlands and Stormwater Recreation Project. Also hosted Grand Hunter here, along with the MD of Tabor, who confirmed our $1.23 million infrastructure grant related to wastewater plant clarifiers enhancement project, as well as the Highway 3 twinning announcement update and/or Chin Reservoir expansion project. I also happy to attend the Tabor Christian Schools Above All Else Youth Conference held at the Parallel Church this past week. Some 500 students in attendance at that event as well. Very well done and very impressive, including schools from Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. And I also attended the annual Tabor Police Service, Tabor Police Association ball held at the Heritage Inn. So with that, that would be my report. Any other questions from anybody? And no motion required. So moving on to standing items, council requests. Mr. Tebow.
All right, happy to report that Resolution 386 at the top was looked after this evening. That's the bin waste collection system. So that'll drop off. Item number 2, the investigation into the non-powered boat launch, also discussed. So that will drop off and eventually reappear at some point in time when we get closer to a finish on the wetlands potentially. Still in progress on the 53rd Street connectivity with the developer, so nothing really to report there too much. On the final item, 119, this spoke to the sidewalks, the temporary repair of the sidewalks, and then looking into the problem with the water pond / ditch at the back. Mr. Scheer informs me that the temporary fixes to the sidewalks were completed today. There may be a few touch-ups yet left, but that's almost looked after. And administration is still in progress with reference to the ditch in the pond. And that's all I have at this point.
All right, thank you. And any new standing item council requests? Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering about alley repairs and when those take place, like back alleys. I was just approached by a couple of people about there was one behind, like across the street from the fire hall, the A&A building, like that alley behind them. There was like a few big ones, and then the alley behind Johnson's and Mark's, that alley, there was some big holes in that alley as well. And so I'm just wondering when alley repair happens and what the plan is for that. Thank you.
So I'd have to defer that to Mr. Scheer.
Thank you.
Yeah, lane repair is ongoing. We're looking at them all the time. So if there's specific needs, we'll go out there right away and get them repaired. But all the lanes, we try to grade once a year, repair, we do whatever necessary.
All right, thank you. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was speaking to an individual about our downtown and the fact that some of the businesses are vacant and some of them sit vacant for long periods of time. Although I have to say there's not not a ton of vacancies downtown at the present moment, but this individual mentioned, was asking if there was a way to possibly incentivize landowners or landlords, especially perhaps landlords that don't live in our community, that maybe live somewhere else, to keep their buildings filled, or to further invest in them, or to beautify them, to benefit the downtown specifically. So I'm open to hearing. I know that we have a tax incentive bylaw that businesses can utilize. There is interest, or there's a beautification loan available through Chinook Community Futures as well. So there is ways, but I was just curious if there's other ways that we could investigate, perhaps look at what other communities are doing, because I know this is not unique to Tabor, but to help revitalize and beautify our downtown, to keep it vibrant and busy. So
All right.
Yeah, if anybody has any suggestions, or I can make a motion.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if, I know Community Futures has been involved in the past with a variety of things downtown and area. I wonder if that specific question can be brought up to them, just like you suggested. Mr. Tebow, what do you think the best way to handle something like that might be?
I think if administration was directed to look into something, we could certainly come back to council and explore whatever other opportunities there are. We do have exactly what was mentioned, the Downtown Revitalization Grant Program for fascias, and some of the murals that were done and things like that. But it's hard to force people to participate. We can try and incentivize and see what else is happening in other areas for sure. So that would be my recommendation if you asked us to go look into things.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
And just for reference, Community Futures, there was discussion of pop-up stores and how valuable that is to a downtown corridor for someone to try something, and then, it might develop into a long-term lease. So I think Community Futures is the way to go.
Yeah, and they do have, they have a fair share of things going on, but I don't know, I don't think there's anything wrong with enhancing that. And so you would need a motion in that regard, Mr. Tebow, necessarily, or?
Yeah, we would like something to tell us what.
All right,
what you'd
Councillor
like us to
Firth,
do.
you able to fashion the motion in that regard?
Absolutely. Actually, the individual that I was speaking to is actually affiliated with Community Futures, and so I think the concern is that sometimes there's places that are sitting vacant, and if it's a landlord that doesn't live in town, maybe there's not so much incentive for them to fill it. I mean, obviously, there's a monetary. You make more money when you have a renter in your building than you do when it's sitting vacant. But I was just curious if there was other options. So yes, I can certainly fashion a motion. I move that council directs administration to investigate ways to incentivize downtown property owners to invest, beautify, or fill their properties within the downtown core.
All right, thank you. We got all the bases covered, I think.
Yeah, you're getting good at this. We're going to give you these off-the-cuff ones all the time.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you accept the friendly amendment? You didn't use the word vacant property.
I would accept that friendly amendment. Thank you.
All right, very well. Friendly amendment motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there was discussion at the Taborn District Housing meeting, just with the senior living and the grants available. And I was wondering if I could get some interest, whether the town can actually look into grants associated with fixing up the senior center here in town. I can't remember what, the lodge. Yeah. Because I'm not sure, that we're trying to collaborate and have partnerships, and I'm not sure what actually administration or the town's done in helping fund this project.
All right, thank you. I think there's been something in the works for some time, but I believe it's also in the works for the grant exploration. We have written some support letters in the past, correct, Mr. Tebow, about just that?
We have, and I didn't attend that meeting, and I'm not sure if you did, Councilor Sorensen. Okay, so I think there was some initiatives that were talked about at that meeting, and administration's not really 100% aware of what those things were.
All right, thank you. Councilor Rudd?
Yeah, it's on that, Mr. Mayor, thank you. It was, that, after that meeting, there was a commitment for Tabor Housing to develop a business plan as to what that would look like for, this community and other communities to participate in a funding model. And, that will be under development and will be presented to us, I'm sure. But it's a $25 million project. Tabor Housing has invested $600,000 so far and has a shovel-ready plan to go. So it's, I'm looking forward to getting that business case and seeing what we can do to help between us and the MD and the other communities around. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Cover all the bases there, Councilor Sorensen? That's what I understood come out of, I didn't attend that meeting either, but that's exactly what came out of that meeting as far as the next steps, right? Okay, very well, thank you. So I think we're all right with that at this stage. Okay, thank you. Any other stand item council requests? All right, with that, asked for a motion to move into, for our meal break and to reconvene at 5 o'clock for our delegations. Councilor Beckering. All right.
I'll make the motion.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Please. And moving on to our delegations, item 8.1, Delegation Canadian Senior Pro Rodeo, Mr. Tebow.
So I'm told we have Glennis and Lynn Turcado here, and if you wanted to come up to the front and turn on one of the microphones, whether you want to stand, whether you want to sit.
Yeah, you're welcome to sit or stand, whichever you like, but I just need you to turn on the mics there. You can pull that over a little closer to you, Glennis, if you like. That does move a bit.
Okay, I'd like to
That's
introduce myself.
Just
I'm
need to-
Lynn
there you go.
Turcado. This is my wife Glennis. We're part of the Southwest Senior Pro Rodeo Association. We're doing a third annual CSPRA rodeo this year. We've done it for 2 years. This is our third year. We're in conjunction, we're with the Taber Exhibition Association too. We're partnering with them. Just a background in our association, we're rodeo competitors that are anywhere from 40 to 80 years old. We have actual 80-year-olds that still ride. And it's
Not
about,
us, though.
No, you're ways away from that, a long ways.
It's a bunch of different events. The basic events of rodeo that you all know, and then there's a few different ones like ribbon roping, and I think that's about it, and breakaway roping, and then the calf roping, team roping, all that. And the only real rough stock we've got right now is steer wrestling. It's hard to get 40, 50-year-old guys to ride bulls, and so we're going
Get
to
off
put
the
this
horse.
rodeo on again this year on July 22nd and 23rd. And I think what we bring to the community as far as bringing all the people here, we bring about 200 contestants to the rodeo grounds, and they'll spend 4 days in Taber. So amongst them, 3 to 4 days, they'll be amongst Taber, whether it's at the restaurants or uptown or whatever. So, another thing we're going to be bringing is we're not going to charge admission. We feel like, we're going to let people come in on their own. It's a long performance for us. So, and other than that, is there anything you want to add, Glennis? I think one of the
We'll have the egg toss,
things
too.
we're trying to do for fundraising is we're going to have a Beauty and the Beast barrel racing bronc riding May 13th at the Agriplex on Saturday night to try and raise some funds for our rodeo in July. So it's something different. Instead of doing a draw like we did last year, we're going to try something different. Bringing people in, of course, to that weekend too, into Taber for one night. So it's something different for us, and keeps us busy. So we appreciate your support for the last 2 years, and we really appreciate it if you team up with us again for the future years.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Lynn and Glennis. I have 2 questions. Is the MD of Taber contributed to your association?
Yes, in years past they have been both other years. Yes.
Now, how much?
They give us $2,000 a year.
Thank you. And second question is, what is the status of your financial condition right now? Do you have any money in the bank?
There is some money in the bank, yes, to where we made a little bit of money last year. We're trying to do some different things with our contestants coming into town, trying to appreciate them more. The more they feel welcome in Taber, the more things we can give them, the more they'll want to come back to Taber. So there's some things we're doing to try and promote them.
Like our go round, we'll have fast time awards on the Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And it's a coffee mug that has a Taber emblem on the front. So how many is there?
Yeah, it'd be 25. Yeah.
There's 25 events.
Thank
And so we'll give them cups, and then there's a memorial vest that we give for Henry Jurgens that passed away, and he was a committee member. So we'll be doing that for the pastime and the team roping. That was his event. So there's different things like that, and then we'll be doing a silent auction, trying to raise funds that way. So it actually turns out to be a lot of fun because people get competitive over a social that way. It's kind of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions arising? And for me, I've attended both years, and it's you put on a great performance there, a lot of fun there. That's the key. I really love to see that, how much fun you're all having there, besides the camaraderie and all the history with everybody there. And it becomes a rodeo family reunion in a lot of ways, right? So it's great to see it, and great for Taber and area, absolutely. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, Lynn and Glennis, I supported you from the very beginning. 2 years ago when you started, you know, it was just COVID was happening and, you know, you were trying to get a new thing going, right? And I think it was money well spent on our part, Mr. Mayor, to support the senior rodeo. And you've had it for 2 years now. However, at this point in time, from my personal perspective, I'd like to lessen that amount a little bit,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. I am prepared to make a motion.
All right.
That council directs administration to fund the Canadian Senior Pro Rodeo Association request in the amount of $3,000 from the council discretionary fund.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'd just like to add a friendly amendment, if you would. Councilor Breckenridge, you said just how good this has been, and it has been. Absolutely, what it's done for the community. And to me, I think it's great for us to be as consistent as possible. I understand where you're coming from with your reduced figure, but I would suggest or ask, if at all possible, to go back with a $5,000 amount as we have in the past 2 years as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, not accepted.
Right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Right, thank you. Do you have a motion on the table? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks very much. Wish you very well
Thank you.
for this
Thank
year as
you.
well. All right, thank you. Next item is item 8.2, Delegation Star Theater funding request. Mr. Tebow.
So we'll have Joel come up, and I didn't know co-presenting. Just observing. Okay, go ahead then, Joel.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most of the board is down with the tango trip, so Tasha's my support today. So thanks
All right.
for having me in, guys. Good to see everybody. Just wanted to discuss the $250,000 loan that was okayed by council. We went to the Arts and Heritage Board to ask if that could potentially be turned into a grant. With coming into the code upgrades to the building and having to rezone to A2, it's required either a firewall or a sprinklering of the whole building. So our big expense right now is the firewall. We're putting the firewall in between where the chapel and the gymnasium is. So everything south of the chapel will be good to go in that A1 zoning. As soon as we zone to A2 for the performing arts, that's when it will trigger the sprinkler system. But having installed the firewall, we'll be able to get away with just sprinklering the theater side, which would be the most cost-effective way to go about things. We have secured our building permit for phase one. The phased opening approach is really essentially it's just trying to create some revenue as we're in the process of building this. Seemed like gym would be the best way to go to create that revenue. So we're just trying to get something open and up and running to survive the in-between time until we get to the point where we can go phase 2, phase 3. I think we have enough funds for phase 1 and 2 for sure. Phase 3, when we add the theater and the Performing Arts Center, that's when things are gonna get a little testing and might take a little fancy footwork, but that's what we do around here. So, thank you for letting me come in and speak with you guys. Just want to let you guys know that we have had professionals involved. Kurt from Superior has okayed the phased opening approach. So he's stamped off on all of our drawings. We will continue to work with BCB Engineering on structural, Sunwise for electrical and for mechanical, and then Ian Moxon is our architect. Kurt has let us know that through all 3 phases, all the professionals do need to be involved, which, as we all know, engineering incurs costs, so there is an extra extra cost there to keep those professionals involved. But at the end of the day, we're going to have this place safe for the community and safe for everybody that comes in the doors. And we'll continue moving forward with the phased opening approach. It's looking right now, we have about $100,000 in the bank. The MD of Tabor gave us a $200,000 grant that has been allocated to some of the theater stuff, has been allocated to some of the professionals, the architect. But right now, we definitely have enough to get phase one up and running, which I'm pushing for June, definitely July. We'll be looking at that with the timeline the contractors have given us. So phase one will be open soon.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rudd.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What's the status of the money right now for the town? Is it on the books, on our books, as what, a loan out, or, and is there a repayment schedule, and is any of that activity taking place? Do we know?
Mr. Orwell?
Thank you very much. I think originally, if you look at the original motion, it was 250, and it was a free interest loan over 10 years. So I did run that amortization schedule for the repayments, but the money has not been dispatched yet.
Oh, we still have the money? It's not been given out?
The money has not been given to them.
Oh, okay. So, not been given, okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay,
All right, I
Yeah.
think that's an easy explanation. Mr.
Well-
Tebow, I think it's related to a permit requirement, correct, Mr. Tebow?
Yeah, in the borrowing bylaw, there was a requirement for them to, for Star Theater or Tango to have all of their building permits in place. And that was one of the conditions before we could release the money. So the money is sitting there. I've been almost signed it on Friday with Donna, but wanted to wait until this took place because it would make an adjustment potentially in a GL code so that it didn't have to get recoded from Donna's perspective. But the money is ready to go. And as mentioned, Joel mentioned they got their building permit for phase one. So I believe that's going to satisfy what we need from a borrowing bylaw perspective.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the presentation, Joel. I am speaking in favor of changing it to a grant as opposed to an interest-free loan. But I am a little hesitant to commit to in-kind services, not because I don't want to help out the Star Theater, not because I don't think it's a worthy thing to help out, but because I don't want to overcommit our current staff, and then it becomes precedent setting if we're helping you guys, which are not part of the town of Tabor. Then it becomes, so then what other organizations are we going to get a whole bunch of requests as to, well, what can you help us? So the snow removal, we do all of these great things. So I'm just hesitant.
Totally understandable.
Joel, could you just grab your mic again, please?
Oh, just got to turn it on, that's all.
Thanks. Yeah, no,
No problem.
100%. Yeah, and I've thought about that as well, asking for the work in kind, and there needs to be a precedent set community-wide, so totally understandable. But I appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mills, for the presentation. I look at your financials here, and you've got retained earnings of $421,000. Could you explain that?
Yep, you bet. So, so far, we were able to privately fundraise. Let me just get my numbers here. We were able to privately fundraise $273,910,000 with some smaller fundraising that has happened in the interim, bringing us $12,171. And that's also included the Town of Tabor MD grant for $200,000.
The MD of Tabor.
Yeah.
200 or 250?
They gave us 200.
Okay, 200.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor, follow up? Yeah, so you're request, and there's a huge difference between an interest-free loan, of course, and a grant. There's a huge difference there, right?
Yes.
This council, over the past 4 or 5 months, has deliberated extensively regarding the budget for 2023 and the tax increases that are contained therein. And the $250,000 represents about half our total tax increase, which we didn't want to do. Don't you feel guilty for asking for money?
Little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that the citizens of the town probably aren't going to be happy about that. I think of the benefit to the community, you know, in the vision of what this facility will bring to the town if we can execute our vision properly. If the society and myself can execute the vision properly, I think there's no question that we will be able to bring that back into the community in quick fashion. But we need to get there first.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Lots
bet.
of information. I was just wondering if maybe administration can answer if they can, Tango can, or the Star on 54th can use also the property tax incentive for this build.
Mr. Tebow.
I don't think it actually meets the criteria, but Mr. Egan might be the best to speak to that. I think there needs to be a 25% increase in building size
Okay.
for that tax incentive by law. But I'll let Chris speak to it.
Yes, so the trigger is a 25% increase in physical size of the building. So the idea was to incentivize people to expand their existing businesses and or retool or reformat such that they can continue in business. We would have to. It gets a little bit technical, just to meet some of the criteria that were set out by council in that bylaw. But we would certainly be happy to review that specifically.
Just because they're increasing the actual value of the building by probably 25%, maybe with all the, you know, changes that they're doing and improvements to the building. I'm not sure if that's something that everyone agrees with.
Yeah, that's a good question, good point, Councillor Sorensen. I don't know, it's with the required renovations. Like, Mr. Egan, you were saying you think it had to be a 25% increase of capacity or?
Size.
Okay, so
Because
not
we were
investment
originally
necessarily?
thinking not necessarily investment.
Okay, is that a gray area or is that matter of fact as far as you know there?
I'm not prepared to speak directly to
Okay.
it at the moment, so I'd say
Yeah.
it's a gray area.
Okay, okay,
We'd have
fair
to do
enough.
a little
So,
bit of research.
all right, okay, so we could look into that some more. All right. Councillor Rudd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question, but I wanted to comment on this discussion here a little bit. I mean, before there was no theater, now there is a theater, so that's 100% expansion.
Good point. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm just trying to move myself into a position where I understand the impacts of this financially so that I can support this, and you've given us a lot of good information, and especially explaining the financial sheet there. So this was a motion that was made in 2021. So was that money set aside in 2021? Has that been sitting somewhere?
Mr. Aurora?
That is correct. So the money, following the motion, the money is available at any time, but they had to meet the criteria set up in the bylaw. That's why the money has not been dispatched.
Right. So, but it's just sitting there in
The
there
money is
right now
available, yes.
until those conditions are met. Now the conditions are met 2 years later, and so we're ready to action. Okay, that's helpful for me to understand that. So, and it came from out of where in the first instance? Just our general revenues or
Yes.
operating? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that $250,000 that we were talking about, I think it's sitting in unrestricted reserve somewhere, right, Mr. Rohrer? Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Yeah. I'm not in favor of giving you $250,000. I think this is a very worthwhile project, Mr. Mills. There's no doubt about that, and there's a lot of volunteer labor involved here. There's a lot of volunteer hours. It's a lot of money, man. $250,000 is a lot of money. It's, I don't know. How much? I mean, if you want to negotiate, you want $250,000 loan, or you want $100,000 cash? What do you want?
That's a good question, Garth. I mean, we're looking for any help we can
I'm just
get.
tongue in cheek, Joe.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree with Council Firth, however, that the in-kind request, the in-kind is precedent setting, and therefore it is not very palatable to me for sure. We don't own the building. You own the building, so you look after it. You take care of it.
Yep.
That's from my perspective regarding maintenance and snow removal and cutting the grass and whatever that might take. And regarding Councilor Sorensen's comment or request regarding waiving of taxes, whether this would be applicable, I agree with Mr. Egan, it's not. But I think council in the past has waived all or portion of taxes if it makes sense. If there's a presentation made by your group after a year and say, you guys charging me $10,000 worth of tax, but I got no money because I'm a poor operator. It is within the authority of council to waive that, Mr. Thibault. Is that correct, sir?
It is, if you look at the previous motion, it did allow for town of Tabor utility costs and property taxes for 1 year to already be in that waived.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mr. Mills, the date start of year one would have been just around the presentation in January for the opening, when they turned the turnkey
Yes.
ceremony.
Yeah, when we
So was
took
it
possession
January?
of the building.
January 2023 was the first you've taken over, so that would be technically the start of the 1 year, right? Okay. So that's already on the books with the offer agreement. So this is an enhancement potential with the 4 items itemized by administration as per the original ask for some potential changes. So I guess all things considered, whatever we choose to do, we have to do them individually or not at all, whichever we so choose. But I would be leaning with Councilor Firth as far as supporting that going forward, and maybe that in-kind is a difficult one. I don't know. It's like to help you out where we can, I guess, but I get it's more the optics
Yeah.
as far as other locations that could be looking for that kind of help, and that precedent kind of format makes it difficult as well there. But overall, I do support that funding request. Councilor Firth.
Thank you. And I understand some of my fellow councilors' concerns. $250,000 is a lot of money. To me, the value I think that this facility is going to bring to our community is well worth it. And because it is, I find it more palatable to provide a $250,000 grant as opposed to an in-kind, which is open-ended. So this is a finite amount to get this facility going, and I think it will be a huge benefit to our community, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right, with that, just to have a question from Mr. Thibault. Mr. Thibault?
Comment was already made, so I
don't
have to say anything.
Okay, just before we make the motion, I'd just like to add for council, particularly new council members, that originally way back when the study was done and suggested renovate the civic center as a possibility as opposed to $10 or $11 million full facility there. The recommendation, end-all recommendation of 3, basically not to do it, not to invest that kind of money for the 2 options. But the third option was if we did anything at the civic center location, was a $250,000 enhancement to make it work over there. So when I look at it from that perspective, that's really all they're asking. And that's what we would have committed to if we went that route, fall in that direction at that location. So that's another little bit of tidbit of information for you that's very applicable in this case. And Councillor Firth, certainly ready to entertain your motion.
Certainly. I move that council rescinds resolution 439/2021.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Councillor Firth?
Can I make a follow-up motion? Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect. And I move the council directs administration to approve a $250,000 grant to Star Theatre to be funded from operating reserves and requires Star Theatre to provide a financial and project progress status report semi-annually.
Right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the motion, Council Firth. Would you consider a friendly amendment to reduce the 250 to 200,000 to be in line with the MD of Tabor donation or grant, I guess? Come on, Charlie.
No, I would not. Nice try, though. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rudd?
Yes, I'd speak for the motion, Mr. Mayor, and just, you know, as I'm puzzling through it in my own mind here, talking about how it's a community enhancement. This is not benefiting just one little entity. This is benefiting the whole community, and on that basis, I'm in support.
All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right,
Thank you, guys.
not quite done. Not quite done unless, are we going to address the other 2 options as well? Item C and item D. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Not
you.
quite done yet, Mr. Mills. Just to show you I'm not that cold-hearted, I'm gonna make a motion that provides a waiver for the town of Tabor utility costs and property taxes for 1 year upon possession of building within the town of Tabor.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And item D. Or if you're not going to go for it, I guess we do nothing with it. But so, okay. Okay, so I guess that's as far as we can go with that's a general consensus at this stage. So thank you so much, Mr. Mills. Wish you all the very best of luck and look forward to that actual opening date.
Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
I'm gonna make it happen. Don't worry.
We know. We got faith in
Make
you.
it happen. I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We got it in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
It's, well, we're just going into closed session, so yeah.
Well, hey, great to see everybody.
Oh,
Thank
nice,
you
Joel.
so much.
Same here, you bet. See you again.
Thanks, guys. Back to work.
Yeah, he's a character. Yeah. All right, just need a motion to move into closed session, please. Sorry. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried down. Thank you.